How's it going, guys? I hope you're doing good. Today, I want to talk about how to start a cybersecurity career for several reasons. I got a bunch of requests on Quora from people wanting to get into the cybersecurity industry somehow and having no clue about that. I find this kind of hilarious because at the moment I'm not working in cybersecurity, though I'm looking for it. I'm on the job market right now. And so I still have to figure it out by myself. But nevertheless, I like to help others, so I decided to come up with a series of posts that I'm going to start publishing since today. And let's start now with some general considerations about how and why you want to start out with a career in cybersecurity. Now, I hate reading PowerPoints and stuff like that, but that helps me reminding the main points I want to come across with today. And so the whole thing can be reduced mainly to 4 points: passion, fun, ethic, and personality. I think passion is the main drive here. I mean, if you don't love what you do, if you don't love hacking, if you don't love cybersecurity per se, regardless of the kind of economic compensations you can get from it, well, you should seriously thinking about choosing another career for yourself. I mean, you hear about people like my former boss, Dave Kennedy, and other guys who are on a top level in the industry gaining something like 100,000 or $200,000 per year, but they don't tell you how much work they have to put in for them to reach that kind of income level, how many hours they work, how much travel they do, and stuff like that. I know that because I follow these guys on Twitter and I see they're always around for hacking conferences and events of any sort. And later on, I'm going to show you how I do that. But first of all, I want to show you a response I gave to a guy on Quora. And this is one of the many I wrote about that, but I think this pretty much summarizes what you need to do to be a successful cybersecurity analyst. I had the honor of being a cybersecurity analyst and work for Dave Kennedy, and I'm still in good terms with him. And that's how I stay current in my industry. All right. But now, anyway, why am I coming up with all this? Because finding a job in cybersecurity, especially entry level jobs, is pretty hard. And the reason for it is that there aren't any actual entry level jobs in cybersecurity. What do I mean by this? I mean that you need to have a previous experience for you to get experience in cybersecurity. I know it sounds like a tongue twister, but believe me, that's how things are. To prove it to you, I'm going to show you the result of a web search I performed some minute ago on entry level jobs. Now, supposedly, this should be an entry level job, right? So you would think they will hire a fresh college grad without any experience or with limited experience. Well, just have a look at the requirements and what kind of experience they want you to have on all this. Of course, this is pretty much a list of ideal, requirements that a dream candidate will have. you can apply just the same, but I guarantee you that if you don't have a certification and another candidate happens to have one, well, you're pretty much done. Because the situation in a job search is very different depending on if you deal directly with the company or with recruiters working directly for a company, or whether you work with recruiters who don't get hired directly by a company but try to act as a man in the middle, which is a very obnoxious practice that keeps going on and doesn't do any good, neither for the employer nor for yourself. Not for the employer because they don't find their ideal candidates, and not for yourself because in the end they don't find you any damn job. You never hear from them after you talk to them. At least that's what happened to me most of the times. Alright. And okay, that's another chapter. Don't get me started on this. Anyway, my recommendation is skip recruiters altogether and apply directly to the companies you want to work for without waiting for a job posting to be published. What I mean by that, go to the web page and try to understand if you can be a cultural fit, like recruiters love to say, for that company, if that's a company you will want to work for. And if this is the case, try to find the name of a recruiter or somebody who can be a reference. Don't send it generically, like most people do, like dear sirs or gentlemen, because I guarantee you it will end up in the trash in a matter of seconds. So try to find a connection, mostly through LinkedIn, but I tell you what, I find Twitter very productive. But more than Twitter per se, I use TweetDeck. Why? Very easy to understand. I'm gonna show you the difference. Okay, let's go to Twitter now. Alright, so this is the Twitter feed. And like you say, there's a bunch of stuff. I don't care about most of this stuff. It's a bunch of bull crap. Alright, the only thing I care is cybersecurity and professional stuff. I don't give a damn about all political crap and stuff like that. So I find TweetDeck, which is a free platform, much better because, like you see, I can choose to see what I want here. Very importantly, you can create lists. This is a list where you can add the most relevant guys in an industry. For example, I have my former boss. Kudos, Dave. You're a great man. And I don't say this because I'm making a video. I really think so. And I follow guys like Kevin Mitnick, for example, you see, and a bunch of other guys. Of course, I'm still bound to my former employers for several reasons, stuff like that. But I have Black Hat, I have DEF CON, and a bunch of other important sources like the Hacker News, and that helps me stay current. So TweetDeck helps me be productive, and the amazing thing is that's a free platform. So it's not only amazing, but it's absolutely free. So how better than that? You can beat this, right? But now let's go back on track. So let's see how you can work around your lack of experience and how you can get a job in the cybersecurity industry. I already told you that you need to skip recruiters and find another way to get hired. But in the meantime, while you wait for a job opportunity to come up or you wait to create the right connection for it to happen, you should keep working on yourself and you should consider furthering your education and getting into certifications. Now, as to education, I would warmly recommend, but that's probably because it worked for me, to attend a community college and then getting an associate's degree like I did, which allows you to transfer to a more important 4 year college if you want to continue for a bachelor's. I don't have any intention to further my education unless they fund me for this, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's not only because community colleges are really cheap compared with more important universities. For example, my college, Stark State, was really next door to an important university, Kent State University, and it offered pretty much the same teaching quality for half the price. So sometimes it's only a matter of name, but what you can find in a community college is not always crappy. In my case, I had the advantage of receiving a very technical and hands on education, which helped me a lot. Of course, I played a lot myself with tools like Snort and other stuff, but without the basis I received from my college, that would be much harder, tell you what. And other than that, the professional and personal relationships I created over my college experience proved to be really invaluable. Among the other things, I found my job at Binary Defense through the college because my teacher, my academic advisor, had this email and he passed it around and I applied for this job and they hired me right away. So being in a community college opens up many more doors for you than what you could possibly think. And especially like in Star State case, if they're very connected to the industry, to the local community, to the local entrepreneurs, that can help you a lot find a job. So I warmly recommend you to do that. Of course, it's always a matter of budget, but I mean, you should think about it. You could even go for a certificate instead of committing 2 years for an associate degree like I did. It's a matter of budget and priorities. I get it. Another thing you can think of along or instead of a degree, I would say better along with that, is getting into certifications. Why is that? Because certifications allow you to supply employers something, material that can tell them that you're an expert, that you have hands on knowledge about security. Now, I gotta tell you, this is a very controversial topic. Certain professionals despise certifications that they say they're really overrated because the fact you have a certification doesn't mean you can get your job done. I mean, if you suck at your job, a certification won't make any good for you. And they have a point about that. Sadly, though, even though I could agree with these guys, very often when you're in a job search, you have to deal with this recruiters, unluckily or luckily, depending on points of view. And these guys often have no technical knowledge about that. And all they do is ticking off boxes. So they're like, okay, you have a bachelor's degree? Okay, good. You don't have it while you're out. You have a certification? Right. You don't have it? Okay, bye bye, dude. And that's how it works. So sadly, if a certification is a requirement for that job, unless you deal directly with the employer and the employer sees something valuable, unique, outstanding in you, well, you won't get any further. That's a sad truth, but it needs to be said. Okay. So I say do whatever it takes. As on myself, I'm just studying now for CompTIA Security Plus because it's the best, entry-level security certification in my opinion, because it allows to have the same knowledge pretty much as CISSP, but CISSP is much more, expensive and requires 5 years of full-time cybersecurity experience, work experience. Okay, so if you don't have any specific experience, you can't do it. Now, I have worked as a cybersecurity, I don't like cybersecurity, sorry, information security analyst for Dave Kennedy for just about 1 year, but that's not enough, sadly. So, getting a Security Plus certification, at least in my case, will bump up my career, hopefully big time. Of course, that's a general consideration, but your path can be much different from mine. I mean, it all depends on what kind of, you know, role, I mean, job role you want to have in cybersecurity, what kind of specific position you want to look for. If you're, I don't know, a network security engineer, you need to have certain skills. If you're a threat intelligence expert, you need to have other skills. If you want to work as a malware analyst, you need to have other knowledge like, I don't know, assembly and C, for example, and so on and so forth. So, coming up with general considerations about a career path and about the certifications that will lead you down to this career path is pretty much impossible because I don't know what you guys want to do. Because depending on what you guys want to do, there are specific certifications for you to take. Like, I don't know, there are cloud security certifications, voice over IP certifications, firewall certifications, and so on and so forth. And most importantly, there are two main types of certifications, which are vendor neutral and vendor specific certifications. For example, I know much better vendor neutral certifications because they're pretty much the same for everyone. And vendor neutral certifications are, for example, CompTIA, Security Plus, and all the other like A Plus, Network Plus, and so on. CISSP, OSCP, which I want to take afterward, and so on. Then I'm only talking about this because that's all I know, but that doesn't mean that vendor specific certifications are less valuable. On the contrary, I mean, something like Cisco, Microsoft, Palo Alto, and stuff like that can be much valuable, or practically sometimes even more valuable than vendor neutral certifications, depending on what kind of career path you want to have. I mean, if you want to be a security engineer and you need to work specifically, I don't know, with Cisco firewalls or with Palo Alto firewalls, well, you want to have a certification from those companies because you need to know how these devices work, like your pockets. I mean, you need to know everything about it. Okay. So, I don't know if this can help you decide what you want to do for your career path, but that can be something you should consider. Okay, this is general blah blah blah, what I see in most posts, but I like to give you some actionable and hands-on suggestions about that. So, in my post, I listed a bunch of websites where you can get free training and create free virtual machines where you can practice stuff like penetration testing, web hacking, uh, server installation, and a bunch of other stuff. For example, Microsoft TechNet offers a series of invaluable services like uh, all of a bunch of free training on any Microsoft product you can possibly imagine, especially server, Windows Server. And by the way, you can download trial versions of a bunch of Microsoft products. So I will, warmly recommend you to do that. You need to have the software for you to learn. IT, especially information security, is not something you read the book and you know it. You need to do the stuff on your computer. You need to build a lab, and that's what I do right now. And I recommended the book, but not because I get paid by its author and I give a damn, but because I found it to be really good, and I'm having pretty much success in building this lab after a series of failed attempts that really got me frustrated. But I know it's something I need to do because, believe me, you need to practice, practice, practice. And you need to show employer drive, determination, and will to learn. You need to impress them somehow. If you can, build a lab, you can have a CM, you know, you can have an IDS, an IPS, you can have firewall, you can have a network, and you can show them that you know how to protect, how to build, how to attack a network. Well, that changes, the game for you because not all of them, not everybody around, I assure you, is going to do that. Is going to, have the same will or resilience to do that. And you're gonna stand out. That's what I want to do. I don't give a damn. I love what I do. I love to work in cybersecurity. I want to be a hacker. And I'm willing to do all that it takes for me to succeed. Volunteer, whatever. I don't give a shit. And be ready to work your ass off and work crazy schedules. And be ready to be motivated and driven because hard times will come. And if you're not motivated, if that's not your dream job, switch careers right away. Now. We don't need jerks in this industry. If you think you're gonna, enter cybersecurity industry for you to make a lot of money, well, you can get there. Why not? Of course, I want to make money, but don't think it's easy. There are much easier jobs that can give you a lot of money, much easier than cybersecurity. The learning curve is crazy. The workload is crazy, and I know it even though I have a limited experience, but I know what it means. And if you think you're gonna easily get a bunch of money and going to gain $200,000 per year, well, tell you right away, find another job, switch careers, because you're gonna burn out. You're gonna hate your job, you're gonna hate your customers, and your customers are gonna hate you. And you'll live a miserable life. It's not worth it, believe me. If that's not your passion, if that's not your drive, if that's not what you're gonna do, if that's not what you want to do for a living, but more than, for an economic compensation because that's your dream job, forget about it. It's not gonna work, dude. No. Well, I thank you for your time, and I hope the suggestions I give in my post here, I'm only talking about some of them because the video would get too long and I would bore you to death. If I didn't bore you so far, hope not. Well, let me know. I'm gonna follow up with other posts on this. I'm gonna delve into more hands-on aspects. I'm gonna talk about something like mmap scans, like web application hacking through vulnerable applications like WebGoat and stuff like that. I'm gonna talk about Metasploitable and other stuff. But if you guys want me to add, new topics to this, series of cybersecurity introductory posts, well, let me know. I'm gonna try and satisfy your requests. Okay. All right. Have a good one, guys, and thank you for your patience. Bye bye.